One more thing. Happy Flag Day to all who celebrate. Cooper Flagg's coming to town, and I think Jason Kidd's right. He can play the two. I'll tell you why in today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm here because I have to.
Dallas is going to get a seat at the table.
That's it. It's me versus the machine.
Nice penetrating thrust to the middle.
People forget about Flay.
Hot man, the hot player.
Wait. One more thing.
Yeah, you're still locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets on your first $5 bet wins. It's one more thing, bonus episode of Locked On Mavs, and it is Flag Day here in the United States. And people are celebrating in all kinds of ways, but we're celebrating here with Flag Day because Cooper Flagg is coming to town. The Mavericks maybe spoiled it, maybe tipped the pick a little bit. But what I want to talk about today is how Cooper Flagg's versatility is going to change the Dallas Mavericks, and especially with the way that he can just do so many different things, and specifically with how I think he can play the two. We're going to talk about that. Let's start with that. Jason Kidd was talking about Cooper Flagg, or the kid from Duke, as he's mentioned. He said it a couple different ways, couple different times. They're very excited to have him in and to obviously bring him in as the future of the franchise and all that. But the future is far away. The future is a couple years away. At least for Nico Harrison, that's 3 years out. The present means the Mavericks have a lot of wings right now. They have a lot of centers, obviously. They have 3 centers that could play 20 plus minutes in a game. Anthony Davis, Dereck Lively, Daniel Gafford. They have multiple guys that can play at the wing or at the forward spot. Anthony Davis, Cooper Flagg, PJ Washington, Naji Marshall. You can play Klay there. You can play Caleb Martin there. You can play Max Christie there if you wanted. Omax. They have a lot of different guys that could play at that spot. They don't have a lot of just straight up guards, though. You've got Brandon Williams, Klay Thompson playing your off ball guard. Max Christie can some. Caleb Martin can some. Naji played the point at times last year. But they right now need another guard, like another 2 guard that can actually hit a 3, that can create and can defend other teams' perimeter scorers. And Cooper Flagg can do all those things. And I thought it was interesting that that Jason Kidd mentioned that Cooper Flagg could potentially play the 2. He specifically mentioned that for him in an interview he did with DLLS recently. And I started to go through. I was like, all right, let me go through a bunch of the scouting reports from guys that know his game, have watched him a ton, and let me just pick out different abilities that I think could translate to Cooper Flagg playing the 2 to try and prove, before we even get a chance to see if he can, that he could play the 2 in the NBA. And I don't think he's going to play all of his minutes at 2. Let's start with that. That I don't think that every single minute he's out there, he's playing. It's a point guard. It's, Cooper Flagg. It's PJ. It's Anthony Davis and a center, right? That would be the lineup most likely that he would play the 2 or be a guard for the Mavericks. And honestly, positions are so fluid right now that you're just basically asking, can you initiate offense for the Mavericks? Can you spot up and hit 3s on the perimeter? And can you defend perimeter guards? Because I think there are times, you could convince me that there are times next year where Klay Thompson is the 3, Cooper Flagg is the 2, depending on who he's guarding and what they're asking him to do in the offense, right? Height doesn't really matter. It doesn't, that kind of stuff doesn't really matter. It's what you're being asked to do. Like for the Mavs in the past, they've basically had guard, 3 wings, and a center. Those are the roles, and those are the things that you do. It's going to be different now with the different roster and the way that it's set up. But here's a couple of things that I read about Cooper Flagg from people that watched all of his games and scouted him and have scouted in the past and all that. From The Ringer, our friend Jake Kyle Mann, he said, I talked about his versatility. He's the most well-rounded prospect in recent memory, fire and focus for more. He also, and then Rafael Barlow from Locked On NBA Big Board said, what stood out the most this season was how much Cooper Flagg added to his game in such a short time. We already know about the athleticism, the motor, the defensive versatility, and the competitive fire. He went on to talk about what he added to his game. But that idea is going to paint all this in a better light. He's so well-rounded. He's got fire and focus for more. He's already added a bunch to his game. He's got the competitive, the athleticism, the motor, all that. That all the things I'm about to mention are all have that veil on them in a good way. All have that juice behind it, that he's going to want to do more, that he's going to compete at the highest level to be able to play the 2 and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Athletic ability. This one, I went a little nerdy because I think that it's good to try and compare him to some really good perimeter defenders we see right now. I went through the combine numbers And I know that combine numbers are not everything. And this is not saying that he's going to be a better defender than some of these players or that he's quicker than some of these players. And yes, the numbers can be skewed and all that. Sure, I'm going to qualify it a bunch of times because some of this is messy. But I think that all the names I'm about to mention show where Cooper Flagg is athletically, at least to a degree. That, all right, he's at least in the class of some of these guys and not like a plodding big man that is nowhere near these guys. Lane agility drill. He went through, did it in 10.6 seconds. He was 8th out of 73 in his class, better than a bunch of guards, better than, here's some players that he was better than historically, that he'd had a better lane agility drill number than Herb Jones. Tumani Kamara just made second team all defense. Lou Dort, Cason Wallace, a guard, Jalen Williams, J-Dub on the Thunder. So 3 Thunder right there. Brandon Pajemski played guard. Christian Brown played guard. Max Christie, our own Max Christie, and Scotty Barnes. All wings that are known as good defenders that Cooper Flagg, at least in the combine, at least in that number, proved that he was more agile than getting around screens. That's important for that. It's important to stick with a guy, all that, the agility. Okay, so maybe he's not better than all those guys, but he had a better number than all those guys. He is at least in the class of those players. Shuttle run. Here's another one. He got a 2.92. That's a better number than Herb Jones, Tumani Kamara, Lou Dort, Jalen Williams, Terrence Mann, Scotty Barnes, Christian Brown, Brandon Pajemski. That's some all defensive players. Those are all starters and players that are known as good defenders for the most part. And all that the lane agility, the shuttle run. Here's another one, 3/4 court sprint. Better than Cason Wallace, better than Anthony Black, better than Tumani Kamara. So athletically, the names that I'm mentioning right now, and this is just within the last 5 or 6 years of numbers that I look through, he scored better than all those players, meaning to me, at least he's at least in the class of some of those players. And those are some of the best defenders in the game. Lou Dort, Herb Jones, Cason Wallace, Tumani Kamara, like Jalen Williams, some of the best defenders in the NBA. He's at least in the same class athletically, agility, running as those players. Not to even mention the size. He has all that where he's in the class of those types of players athletically. And then size-wise, I went through and I was like, all right, what players in the NBA does he compare to size-wise? So I went through height without shoes and standing reach. So it's like, all right, you're standing up, you got your hand up, right up in the air. He's almost exactly the same size as Jalen Johnson, plays the 4 for the Hawks. 6'7" with an 8'10" standing reach. That's just about 6'8", and then 6 and an 8'10" with the standing reach. That's what Cooper Flagg measured at. He's the same size as Pascal Siakam there. There's a bunch of actual centers he's the same size as. Kevon Looney, Wendell Carter, Xavier Tillman, Precious Achiuwa, Trace Jackson Davis, and then Adem Bona, who backed up Joel Embiid. Like, those are all actual centers, and all of them undersized in a way, but that played center in the NBA this year. And Cooper Flagg is the same size as them with the athletic ability I already mentioned. He's the same size as Brandon Clark. He's a little bit bigger than Brandon Clark. Definitely a bigger standing reach. Brandon Clark's standing reach is 8'6". Cooper Flagg is 8'10". Isaiah Stewart, Beef Stew, he's bigger than him. Larry Nance. He's all about the same size as these guys. And then some pure power forwards. Pascal Siakam, Kuzma, John Collins, Jalen Johnson I mentioned, and Tristan DeSilva for the Magic. And he's about the same size as like a Trey Murphy, a Tumani Kamara, Zachary Richouche, who went number 1 last year. And then he's bigger than PJ Washington. PJ Washington measured at 6'6.5". Cooper Flagg's an inch taller than him with about the same standing reach, 8'10". And so I'm painting this picture with these numbers from the combine that we didn't really talk about a lot that I thought is notable. He's got the athletic ability of some of those wing defenders I talked about, some of the best in the game. Herb Jones, Tumani Kamara, Lou Dort, Cason Wallace, even Jalen Williams. With the size of literal centers in the NBA. Kevon Looney, Wendell Carter, Xavier Tillman, Brandon Clark. He's got that combination. That's who we're talking about right now. And so I think that if you're asking yourself, can he athletically play a 2 or at least be versatile enough? I think he can. Now, what skills is he going to bring to that? Let's talk about that and more coming up. Locked On Mavs. One more thing. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs, One More Thing, is brought to you by Olipop. Incredible. It's a root beer. I had one earlier. They're absolutely delicious. I love Olipop and I love the great flavors. I love also that I don't feel bad after I drink them. I love that they are health conscious. Just 2 to 5 grams of sugar. This root beer one, is delicious. To me, it tastes just like a root beer. 2 grams of sugar. 2! You're like 44 or 30 in a lot of other sodas. No artificial sweeteners, gut-friendly ingredients like Ollie Smart, a blend shown to support digestive and overall health. It's great stuff. You're going to want to check it out. They have a bunch of different flavors. I love the root beer one. I also love the crisp apple one, and then the vintage cola one. Like, if you're not a soda snob, it could taste exactly like Coke to you. Like, it kind of does to me, but I'm not like a super, I got to have the exact right thing, right? Try it out, and you can actually get a free can of Olipop. Just buy any 2 cans in a store. They'll reimburse you for one of them. Head to drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA to claim your free can and find Olipop near you. That's drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA. It's OLIPOP. drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA. Also brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds to get you into the action. Go check out FanDuel. You can get $200 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins that you put down. Right now, we've got game 4? Game 5? Thunder, 9.5 favorite. The Thunder went back up. It was like a 6-point favorite before game 4. Now it's 9.5 for the finals. Thunder still the favorite, minus 590. So it's way back up. They are really pushing the Thunder again. So if you feel confidently about the Pacers to pull the upset, or if you think the Thunder will absolutely win, go put some money on that. Also WNBA, all kinds of other stuff as well. FanDuel.com, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Please gamble responsibly. Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. The one more thing, it's a bonus episode. Thanks for being part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. It's Flag Day. We're talking about Cooper Flagg. And I just wanted to walk through some of his combine numbers to show you what type of player he is. He's got the agility of some of those wings and guards that are some of the best in the NBA defensively. And he's got the size of literal centers in the NBA. Well, let's go through some of what some scouts have said. Defensively, J. Cobb man of the Ringer said he relishes defensive challenges on or off ball. This is another thing. Think about the focus, the drive, the motor that he has. If he's being asked to, all right, go out there and guard, I don't know, De'Aaron Fox, it's going to be tough. The speed is going to be very difficult for him, but he is going to try, and he's going to go out there and he's going to compete, and he's going to do his best to try and stick with him and use his length or whatever he needs to. And he takes that challenge on the ball. And I think that's something that will at least fuel somebody that if you're being asked to play out of position, which 2 is definitely out of position for him, that he could definitely do. Kevin O'Connor is now of Yahoo says his combination of length, timing lets him protect the rim and guard the perimeter, evoking Andre Karolinko-like defensive versatility. It's the versatility that makes me think, all right, if you needed to play him 10 minutes, 15 minutes, guarding the best perimeter defender, the best perimeter offensive player, he could do it. KLC also mentioned he's a Swiss Army knife without a true position. It's because he can defend 1 through 5. There you go. That counts 1s and 2s. If you're defending 1 through 5, depending on the opponent. One night he may be tasked with harassing a quicker guard. Another night battling an interior big. He was asked to do those things at Duke, and he could do it. And so I think defensively is the first thing you look at, and you're like, all right, well, if he's going to be on the floor with a Brandon Williams and a Klay Thompson, you would rather have Cooper Flagg guarding the best offensive player on the perimeter than a Klay Thompson or a Brandon Williams, to me. We'll see who else they add to it, but if those are your options, then I would put Cooper Flagg at the 2 at that point and put Klay at the 3, and we'll see. On offense, I think is where some people have some concern about it. Defensively, I think people can see it, but offensively, I've grabbed a bunch of different stats. KFC the Ringer said he's both the best offensive and defensive prospect from this class, making him the safest number 1 pick in ages. I think Wembanyama is the safest number 1 pick, but best offensive and defensive prospect. I was like, okay, think about all the offensive players in this draft, and Cooper Flagg's a better offensive prospect than all of them. J. Man of the Ringer says Flagg has responded to whatever the team throws his way by unraveling the college game and upping his points per possession, pick and roll efficiency with each passing month of the regular season. This goes back to him taking on every challenge. He was asked, can you run some pick and roll for us as the ball handler? Yes, sure. Remember Raphael came on and he talked about how he played for that main team where he had to be the point guard. He learned a lot of point guard skills there. KFC the Ringer also, Yahoo also mentioned Cooper Flagg is comfortable bringing the ball up and initiating offense as a point forward. He's the best in pick and roll and tends to make the proper decision as a passer, whether looking for a kick out or a dump off opportunity. If you're going to play a guard, you're going to play a 2, you're going to have to run a pick and roll. And he's able to do that. That's what makes him incredible. So he can do all these things. Yes, he may be better as the roller, short roll guy where you give him the ball, kind of like what Dereck Lively does for the Mavs, where he sets a screen, rolls a little bit, gets the ball, and then makes the right decision. He's going to be incredible at that if the Mavs can, whenever they get Kyrie back and when they get another high volume pick and roll guard. But if you need him to run a pick and roll himself with Anthony Davis, Lively, Gafford, even like a Klay setting a screen for him, and then he runs it, sure, he can do that. The pick and roll progression that he's made. His shooting ability, a bunch of people have mentioned this. Rafael Barlow specifically mentioned this in Locked On NBA Big Board. He said, the development as a shot maker took things to another level for Cooper Flagg. Knocked down 38.5% from three on over 3.5 per game, addressing the one major question mark I had about him entering the season. I expected him to be more of a play finisher at the next level, but he's proven he can create his own shot, score in isolation, and knock down open jumpers with confidence. You're going to play the two. You got to knock down open jumpers and score every once in a while from your spot. And he can do that. The Ringer said he's a capable shooter off the catch, never bails out the defense with inactivity or misguided movement. That's another thing. You can't just have him play the two and then the other team goes, all right, well, we'll just put whoever on. We'll just hide somebody on you because you're not going to do a lot. We're more worried about the rebounders. We're more worried about the guards that are initiating, and you're just hanging out over here. He's not going to bail them out in that way. Then talk about his scoring upside. The Ringer says his sense for whether to attack or vacate space, depending on where the ball happens to be, is very advanced for his age. Torments defenses with opportunistic passing and scoring once he's made those choices. Decision making. He'll have the ball in his hands. If he's going to play the guard, he's going to have the ball in his hands, and he's going to have to make those choices. He was great at that at Duke, and he can be great at that in the NBA. And for what the Mavericks are going to ask him to do, for the amount of time that they're going to ask him to play, potentially to play shooting guard, he can do that. KOC mentioned he's made improvements as an isolation scorer thanks to the progress of his jump shot, showing comfortable pulling up from the elbows. The threat of his shot has further made him a threat, driving the basket with his quick first step and long strides. That one, the pull-up mid-range jumper, is the one that I really want to see from him, especially in like a summer league capacity. If he's going to play some summer league, which I really hope he does, so I would like to see that. I would love to see his ability to come off of that pick and roll, and if the defender drops back on him, say, all right, you're not going to get the rim. I'm going to drop back. I'd love to see him pull up the little mid-range jumper. And if he can add that early in his game, you see what it does to, obviously, SGA right now in the finals, but a Pascal Siakam, an Andrew Nembhard. These guys that add that mid-range shot, it just adds so much to your game, especially if you're handling the ball. And so I'd love to see him hit that shot, especially in Summer League, and that's something I definitely want to see. Man, I'm excited for him. I'm starting to look at some lineups, and you go, all right, I mentioned before, you could play, Brandon Williams or a guard, Cooper Flagg, PJ Washington, Anthony Davis, and a center. You're lacking some shooting in that lineup for sure. But it's massive across the board. No matter what size the guard is, you've got a 6'8" Cooper Flagg, a 6'7", 6'8" PJ Washington, a 7-foot Anthony Davis, and a 7-foot center, basically. That's a massive lineup. Try to score on that lineup. It's going to be difficult. And then run some pick and rolls with that lineup too, where you're like, okay, the trailer on this pick and roll is Anthony Davis probably. Wild. I mentioned that I could see him playing too with Klay Thompson being out there because Cooper Flagg's going to be one to initiate a little more offense, and he's going to be the one to defend guys in the perimeter. That's a scenario I could see. I could also see, and I've read some of your comments, that Naji Marshall did play some point for the Mavs last year. I could see the Mavs running that back again and saying, okay, let's let Naji run a little bit more and have Cooper Flagg be the two. You're really struggling shooting with a Naji, Flagg, PJ Washington, AD, and center lineup. But maybe you throw Klay in there instead of PJ. Maybe you throw Klay in there and scoot PJ up and then have Anthony Davis as the center. And that's the one where I go, okay, interesting. Massive lineup too. Naji at 6'7". Everybody in that lineup 6'7" and above. You're lacking some shooting for sure. And the Mavs offense has got to change. It's got to be different. I'm fascinated to see what it turns into. But I do believe Cooper Flagg can play some two at the next level. We're going to see it for all the reasons I just mentioned. The athletic numbers, the size that he's got to take advantage of some of those players. Some of the defensive versatility, the athletic malleability that he has. I think he can absolutely play the two. Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. It's a one more thing. We'll have so much for you next week. And then I'm going to the draft. So we've got some really great stuff coming as we get close to the draft. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.